Hello and welcome to Deconstruction Workers with Stephanie Drury. Today I have my friend Rachel Lichtman on to talk about growing up in Reform Judaism. Normally we talk with people who grew up either evangelical or Catholic, and this is the first person we're going to talk to that has a different tradition. So welcome, Rachel.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank you
for
so much
having
for
me.
coming on. This is so fantastic to talk to you like this. Um, because this is what you and I kind of always end up talking about all the time, and in some way or another. So it's nice to maybe get into what's really under all of it for you.
I agree.
I just feel like with you in particular, it's you're just you're very philosophical, and it comes through in all the work you do. Rachel's a director, graphic designer. How many videos have you directed? I was trying to like look it up because I didn't want to be one of these people who reads a wiki page before they have someone on, but just tell the people about your projects a little bit.
Well, I have definitely directed a lot of music videos. I don't know how many, maybe 25, but then some of them are embedded in the larger projects that I create, which is, for now, it's called Program 4, and it's basically a television station. So I embed a lot of music videos sort of organically into that larger project as part of the programming and your broadcast day, which is really great because it's really nice to have a context for visual work for bands to put it somewhere where it's beautiful all around. It's not a link. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
pop-up buggy page. It's like presented in this way that kind of gives it an evergreen quality. So I really enjoy doing that. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do. I'm a writer and uh, designer
DJ,
and editor
obviously.
and director. Yeah. So all kinds of stuff, Jane of all trades.
I haven't heard that one. Um, Jane of all trades. That's good.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about Program 4 that's coming up. You are touring with it currently, and I got to see your Portland show, and you'll be here in Seattle next week. I just wanted to give a heads up about that. I'm
Yes.
wanting to release this beforehand. So if anyone is within driving distance or flying distance to Seattle, I really highly recommend that you attend this immersive experience that Rachel has created. It's this insane relaxing world. If you were born in the 70s, you will remember it. And it's extremely healing is the word I would use.
Uh, that's a really good way to put it. Thank you.
Oh, I want all of your shows to sell out. I just think that it's what the world needs. So,
Thank you.
but again, like it comes from like I said, your philosophy just kind of touches everything. And I can just tell that there's so much behind everything you do. And so during the pandemic, when you and I were talking more on the phone, we just had more time and we're like, what's going on? And we just ended up having long conversations. You were talking to me a little bit about growing up. Your family is Jewish and you always went to Hebrew camp, I believe. I would always ask you when we'd hang up or it was Friday, I'd like, will you please give me a blessing in Hebrew? And you would like say, well, let me see what I can remember. But growing up in the Christian tradition, I have a very, kind of obviously Christianity is founded on, a lot of Judeo-Christian principles. All the
Yeah.
Christian holidays coincide with Jewish feast days. It's just they're so intertwined and obviously split off at some point for whatever million reasons. But I just would love to talk to you a little bit about what you were taught, like what kind of belief system were you raised with, and what are your memories around that?
Well, it's so vast. I mean, it's more than just memories. It was um, something that I participated in from very, very young, pretty much the age of 2 or 3. And then from there kind of continued on. The Reform Judaism sect, if it, call it that, is very relaxed. It's very folky. It's very, your rabbi looks like James
Mm.
Taylor, and he's got an acoustic guitar and he's got sandals on. Everybody went to Israel in those days and did some time on a kibbutz, and they brought
Wow.
back this sort of, very kind of new approach to worship, which had more to do with song and community, which always sort of existed at temples and in the Jewish faith, but definitely like the Reform Judaism movement of going into the 70s and 80s was basically packed with boomers who were probably hippies at some point, or at least some, subscribed to that kind of idea of peace and love and fellowship. Okay. And tzedakah, which is a term that means sort of giving of yourself, giving anonymously,
Mm.
not charity so much as like helping others. And so those were really, really strongly introduced and indoctrinated. I was indoctrinated into that world. Okay. And I did go to a summer camp. I learned Hebrew, the language, very early on, and was really entranced by the whole world. I was in a small Jewish community in Michigan City, Indiana. It was very tightly knit. It was multi-generational. There were
Mm.
only really a handful of other Jewish kids my age, and all the ages kind of had like a group of kids that, we all kind of stuck together and bonded over that in this small town,
Mm-hmm.
And then we had like the older generations who helped to build this temple as one of many sort of post-war, mid-century modern temple synagogues. My future coffee table book, by the way,
Ah.
of like these beautiful temples started by basically like intellectuals and communists and these post-war sort of families in the 1950s. And so they
Mm.
were still living and still around when we started going to Sinai Temple in Michigan City. And so anyway, it was a world unto itself. As I grew older and participated more in the summer camp that I went to, which was one of many Reform Jewish summer camps that kids went to. Mine was in Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, birthplace of Jane Weedland, by the way, which I just realized
Oh,
the other
cool.
day. Anyway, Oconomowoc had a place called Olansang Ruby Union Institute, which does not sound like a very fun place, but it was. It was magical. It was
Oh.
absolutely magical. It was run by this guy, Jerry Kay, who, in those days, it was super, super hippie. Everyone had leather sandals, and everybody, all the counselors or whatever, who were probably no more than like 17 or 18, but in my view, they were like adults, and I started doing that when I was 12 and then continued on until I was eventually in a program where you only spoke Hebrew. Um,
Ooh.
and they had like, you could live in tents. They were like army issue tents, big tents, and thick canvas, or you could live in cabins, which nobody did because that was for babies. But anyway, in this, at this camp, I really started to understand what it was to connect with community, and also through song, because all of the music and prayers and songs that we would sing, I so looked forward to it because it was all this like really beautiful minor chord kind of gorgeous folky
Mm.
songs. And that movement was, this is a sidebar, but like there are performers like Debbie Friedman, and then Jeff Klepper, who was a cantor and basically created these new versions of these sort of old songs, these old prayers.
Mm.
It was a really magical place to be. my rabbi at Sinai Temple, when I was really little, was um, again like kind of an ex-hippie, and he was very philosophical and did not try to indoctrinate us with any belief system at all. In
Mm.
fact, the only thing what we did was we would go to like services or something at Sunday school, and he would make us scream, "Hello, God." We would all say it at the
Oh,
same time.
in
We'd
English?
say, "Hello, God." Yeah, in English. And I mean, I
Wow.
could hear it in my head. And he had this like puppet that he had called Shlomo the Wookiee, and he was really funny.
Oh my
And like,
God.
and then I remember once like Raiders of the Lost Ark came out, which has like a ton of Judeo-Christian sort of lore. And
Yeah.
I remember we had this whole sermon about it, and he actually told us like he wasn't even sure if he believes in God. Like,
Oh,
it was
amazing.
that loose. But
Dude,
it was very loose, okay? But
I
it was
love
also,
this
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
So
it's so
anyway,
expanding and respectful.
having said that,
Go
having said
on.
that, go on. I may be coming to you from sort of the other side of the like religious, the
Sure.
religious left or whatever, and waving to you like, oh, look at how good, isn't this great?
Yeah.
And, but the thing about it is that I want to really talk about is the fact that we're still at the mercy of a generation or two that had not processed any of their trauma at all.
Dude.
So even
Yes.
though they are like in this environment where everything's super like cool, like all my parents had a friend group, it was like the big chill, or it was like
Yeah.
it was more along the lines of the ice storm with slightly more arm
Uh-huh.
hair, if I may. So but it was very swingy. Like it was really weird.
Really?
It was not
Literally
comfortable.
swingy, or did
I
you
mean,
even know
I
about
think it
that
was.
part?
I think it was put it this way. Everyone in my parents' friend group, besides them, was divorced by 1980. I mean, everyone. And there was a lot of like cocaine and pot and alcohol
What?
for sure. Like it was the late 70s, 80s. Everyone had kind of like money, and everyone was playing adult. Like no one knew how to be an adult. Everyone knew
Playing
that
adult.
they were
Yes.
they were having children way too young. My parents had us when they were babies themselves,
Right.
and they did not know who they were as people at all. And why should they? They were so young. But
Hmm.
also, there's this idea, I think, especially in that generation, of like, well, I can drink scotch now, so therefore I'm an adult. Or I pay bills now, I'm an adult. You're going to spackle over,
Hmm.
years of trauma and sort of not deal with it at all. Plus the fact that the boomer generation, just in general, is very narcissistic. Like all roads
Hmm.
kind of like lead to them in a lot of ways. And so everything they did was considered fine. And we were sort of left to kind of like take care of ourselves in the house. Like I was 12
Hmm.
years old being like left alone with my younger sister and brother while my parents
Hmm.
went out. And, we had a lot of like family parties that got really weird and uncomfortable as the adults got more and more inebriated. And it
Yeah.
was so I guess what I'm saying is no matter what the package of the environment, this particular package, having this idea of like, we're, you know, we're all left wing and we're all like loose, and I almost feel like there's nothing worse than someone who thinks they're laid back but is extremely uptight. Like, give me a Bert any day who's like buttoned down, like I know what I'm dealing with, but like people who
Yeah.
present as like open minded or all this stuff, but actually are super shut down and haven't done
Yeah.
anything about, any work on themselves. Um, it comes almost more of a shock because you're like, well, why aren't you like that with me? Why
Hmm.
is everyone else's kids like you're nice to them, and then when the doors are shut, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm in trouble. So, and like in dumb trouble, like it was
Yeah,
always this thing of
exactly.
like, we were reflections of them. We were satellites. So if and that's just how it was, you know. So
Yeah.
I
Talking
feel
about
like,
being raised by boomers and us being like, I just feel that
yeah.
that is kind of, yeah, across the board. That's
Hmm.
how it looked. That, definitely looked that way in my, growing up in evangelical Christian culture, by traumatized, parented by people who I feel found each other in this, the Jesus movement of the late 60s. Both my parents got saved and, had no trauma skills. No, this is like, and immediately got sucked into, oh, I have a new family, but nothing's processed. So everything you're describing completely tracks for me as
Well,
well.
what you're describing about being saved, it also extends to a dynamic that has to do with like being, first of all, almost partners in crime, on whatever level, including like we're just trying to get out of our shitty parents' house,
Mm-hmm.
um, which was when my parents met. That was my mom's thing. Was like she
Mm-hmm.
was just lucky that my dad was such a great guy, because she was ready to get on whatever train was coming by to just like get out of her situation, which was terrible. Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
so there was this rescue, damsel in distress kind of dynamic that continued with my parents, until the end, really, like where he was the big hero and she was the one who needed to be rescued and cared for. So
Yeah.
that was their whole thing. And I think that there's a lot to be said for the way that is analogous really to anyone who's like sort of teaming up against something else or for something else. And I think those things loomed large, whether you're being saved or whether you're saving each other
Yeah.
from something. Um, that generation had a lot of trauma, and this is how they went about it. It was normalized to have children very young. It was normalized to get married young. Um, this is what people did. And so I don't think they were even sort of as conscientious of that at the time as maybe your parents were, with intention to sort of like, we're both in this together.
Mm-hmm.
We've both seen this light or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like being saved is just as much of a spackle over trauma
Yes.
as deciding that like you can transcend it, or you are better, that you've outrun it in some way. Which is, in either case, it's it's not true in either case. You're still
Mm-hmm.
stuck with yourself. But of course, you've got a partner in crime now who can sort of help to
Mm-hmm.
validate all of your shitty attitudes and choices, or at least be on your side. When you're a child of that, I found that no one was on my side. Um,
Mm.
it was always me against them, or me
Wow.
being sort of a lawyer, from my sister and brother, representing them with
Yeah.
evidence,
Yeah.
etc., because I'm the oldest. So then I would sort of like present cases and argue, and it was always a big shitty confrontation that caused a lot of damage, that
Wow.
I wouldn't even work out until much later,
Yeah.
being an idiot
No,
myself. So,
I can relate to that, as I'm also the oldest sister with a younger brother and sister, the oldest
yeah.
daughter. So that's very specific dynamic, I really think, especially um, growing up in a household where God is regularly invoked.
Yeah.
I felt that the God card was kind of central to them saying, "We're right, you're wrong. You must obey your parent." Is that something that you experienced as well growing up
Well, I
in
think
your
that
tradition?
God, as I said, yeah, the God card, I mean, that's a powerful card.
Yeah,
The
it
God
doesn't
card,
get any bigger than that.
it's kind of the number one card. And it's an easy fix all for all kinds of bullshit.
Hmm.
It's like, I'm going to play the God
Hmm.
card, and now you literally, it's like paper covers rock. There's
Yeah,
nothing you can say to the God card.
and
When
scissors
you
and
when you're
paper.
dealing with,
Yeah.
no, exactly. When you're dealing with narcissism, it's almost the same sort of idea, except in this case, God is them. Like it's the
Yes.
that's it.
By
It's
the
just this
power
idea
vested
of,
within me as your parent, you will
exactly.
honor me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or just like, we're not, I don't think that any parent from that generation had any concept that one of their children would have their own inner world. That just didn't occur to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they came up against a child speaking to them or pushing back, and I sound like something that his father said to him, I'm
Oh,
triggering him every time I open my
yeah.
mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. So, which we addressed this much later. I said, I'm not your father. He goes, well,
Ooh.
and I was like, well, I'm not. Like, this is a separate situation. Like, but he
Yeah.
had a lot of hurt around the idea
Yeah.
of like his father making him feel like he wasn't good enough or
Sure.
couldn't achieve things or whatever. Every single pushback was a challenge to that specific thing where it shouldn't have been. So,
Yeah.
although I was in this environment of Reform Judaism and sort of a more liberal upbringing in terms of indoctrination, which we were not, like, it was not this like weird, we embraced it. I still do. And all of
Mm-hmm.
my Jewish friends now who grew up that same way, um, maybe in households that were a little less contentious than mine, it really shows in them like their level of confidence and um, kind of laughter, which was a really big thing. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good thing to connect it, laughter. So the one thing that we did have in our house and in the Jewish religion
Uh-huh.
writ large is laughs. And so when all else fails, we did have like an in case of emergency break glass laugh thing where everyone was funny,
Yeah.
and that was a way that we could communicate. And everything was funny. Going to summer camp was funny. The being in temple was funny. We had everything was funny, and so uh, sort of cultivating like a sense of humor
Yeah.
that young. My parents were huge comedy fans. We had every comedy album. You
Oh,
know, my first
amazing. Did
movie
you
was Blazing Saddles. You know what I mean? We were
what?
big
Oh, your
Mel
parents are
Brooks
so
people.
cool. Oh my
Well,
God, my
see,
parents would
that's where
have a cow.
yeah, but like that was a way that that we coped. So I want to
Yeah.
say that for me, if we're going to like connect it to present day, I find I find a lot of healing in laughter and sort of turning a frown upside down. And so much of what I do is really based in the kind of it's designed to be healing for me. I mean,
Yeah.
was it was the pandemic when I was creating most of what I'm presenting now, and have been creating it over the past really the past decade, but during the pandemic it definitely took a different turn, and it became something that was so restorative and healing for me to be in this world and to make things funny and to take some like beefs that I had with the world and sort of transform them into something that was funny. And that's all I know how to do because
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I've always done it. So that helped a lot. And so what I'm left with now that I'm presenting is something that not only is really funny, I think, but then like allows for quiet and contemplative moments and meditative moments and sort of beauty and art, but also music and other things. It's like a whole kind of, it's a broadcast day, but with a lot of different elements in it that sort of address the vulnerability that we all feel and have felt for quite some time in a way that I don't think anybody is out there really doing. Like, I think
Mm-hmm.
that because we're also connected to the internet, that is not a place where you sink into anything. That is a
True.
place where you
So true.
skim the surface of
You're
everything.
skimming, you're a rock being skipped just across the surface, and
Exactly.
it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And so without the ability to sort of sit with something or address it or even acknowledge it, like, what are we doing? And so when we're constantly like being barraged with like sort of traumatic elements, which is basically every time you open your phone, that's what it is. It's just like this constant bad news. And it's not an accident, like it's by design. And so my goal here is to create an untouchable environment where a number of things can occur. Number one, you're not on your phone. That's the first thing, where you walk into the doors and there's no need for that phone. It's like when you know, I'm sure that there are people out there who have like either microdosed or like got, like whatever, where you're like, I don't want to look at this black hole.
Yeah. I didn't
Um,
feel the desire to reach for my phone once the whole
of
time
course,
I
right.
was
It's good. That's
at your
good.
show. It was
Right.
like being in a sensory deprivation chamber.
Yes,
I
because it
felt like I
forces
was
you.
in a comfortable rec room, like wall like shag carpeting, paneling, like it just
Yeah.
felt so good. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, because the first order of business is to leave the outside world behind. The second and most important order of business is to encourage people to be present with what's going on. Why, instead of sitting in a, even a movie theater chair or something like that, or being at a venue and like looking at your phone because you have like awkward downtime or whatever, there's stuff happening that you can participate in. If somebody's like playing the Rhodes piano and everyone's like basically watching a performance as soon as you walk through the door, and everyone's having fun already
Hmm.
before the main event even starts. um, and then I think the other part of this is to take the analog quality. Of course it looks analog, like, I mean, that's just my style. Like, I'm not trying to do something like, ooh, like, this is just the way I
Yeah.
like design. I mean, this is like, I just wish design still looked like this. And so my
Yeah.
feeling about it is like, what if we just never stopped, you know, making television that looked like this with this typeface and this sort of style? So it's very crisp and fresh looking. But the analog thing that is really cool is the idea that the audience is not a participant in the programming. They have to sit there like my hostage and sit through stuff that may be going on, like maybe it's going on a little uncomfortably long for them, um, or whatever. And they have to wait for the next thing to come. It's a lot of short form bursts of entertainment and like like I said, like comedy music, like little sketches, or even just like bumpers, television idents and commercials and these types of things that go by really quickly. And then there's stuff that goes on a little longer. And I'm encouraging people to get uncomfortable with that silence, because the tendency I feel is for people to want to like fill that silence. And those of us that have found meditation to be a really important like spoke on the wheel of the grand healing in one's hashtag journey, um, it it's really difficult to tune things out. So my whole thing is like tune out and turn on or whatever. Like, you have to just sit, and people find it to be, my feedback has been like, it's a relief to just
Yes.
know and trust that this is all going to be great, and to maybe not know when it's going to end, and to just sit with it and
Yeah.
to let it wash over you. And it's a lot because it's very dense. I think you would agree. Um, it's the, product of many, many years of work and design and late nights and, editing.
I mean, all that
And
comes through. It feels very storied. And when you said that growing up the way you did was its own world, that it just translates into your projects. You've created your own little world, and you have people regularly come up to you and say, I want to live in your brain. What was the guy from the AV Club? What was his quote
I want
to
to live in your
you?
world.
I
Yeah,
love that. See, it's like this is something that's coming through really
I'm
clearly to
glad.
people. It's really beautiful and
Thank you.
just cathartic. I just I've been reading this book called Waking Up to the Dark, written by this guy. He lives in Woodstock, and he was on his way to becoming a Buddhist monk, went all the way through the training, and at the very end, he couldn't say his final vows. And at that point, he experienced kind of a fundamentalist backlash that he was not expecting. he's like, the higher ups, the Buddhist higher ups were so cruel to me because I couldn't, with full integrity, make my final vows, that the way they treated me reminded me of a fundamentalist approach. Like there wasn't any like, oh, this is your hashtag journey kind of thing. But he's the point of the book is how he's always woken up naturally in the middle of the night. And when he was younger, he would just go on walks. I mean, it's safer for a male probably to do that, than the female. And he's like, I acknowledge my privilege in being able to do that. But he said he's doing research now, and apparently a lot of people wake up for 2 hours in the middle of the night, and that's there's a theory that is when you can be your soul is most connected to the great beyond. And it's kind of like we're designed that way, but no one wants to wake up because our worries are so intense at that point. And it's as if we kind of our human nature won't just allow things to be, just sit and be. So circling back to what you were saying about inviting people to just tune out and turn on, I feel like we've lost those rhythms.
We have,
And
but also because, if I may say, I think again the internet is to blame, because what
mm,
happens is that instead of approaching the world and saying like, I was brought up this way, you were brought up this way, and yet so much of what we've experienced is so common and so connected and so the same. It has to do with trauma, really.
mm,
However, whatever the packaging that you got, okay, that's just part of it. That's the way things manifested. That's the way it came through. But I do feel that because we have been encouraged into this like sort of individualism realm, where instead of saying my journey, my struggles, my trauma, I need everyone to see me, you sort of connect so deeply to the continuum and say, we have all done, we are all in this. These things are more common than not across every kind of
yeah,
differentiation and across every kind of like identity, whether that means you're evangelical or a cis white male or, a woman or a trans woman, we are all in this, experiencing this reality together as a collective. We all have pain that is important to acknowledge and to say like, I feel that and I see that, and to not, it's sometimes I feel like there's this contest to see like who had it worse.
yeah,
And I think that that's a bad way to think, even though I know that there are identities and groups who did have it worse legitimately. Okay. That's
yeah,
real. That is very real. However, I think that in terms of how we approach our healing, it is super important to acknowledge that everyone's got their stuff. And if you make people feel like they don't, like their inner world is not as important, then you're just triggering the whole thing. Everyone's walking around like super angry and hostile
mm-hmm,
right
mm-hmm,
now. I don't think that that's an accident. I think
yeah,
that when you pit people against each other using even broad strokes, but also nuance to sort of differentiate them in this micro way, micro differentiation is something that I think is causing us harm, because we are a
yeah,
collective of spirits. We are all
mm,
together on this plane. We are all supposed to be healing one another and helping one another. We are all supposed to form communities that elevate everything about the community on every level. We're supposed to be taking care of children. We're supposed to be taking care of animals and plants. All of these ideas, which I find to be like, this is why the matriarchy needs to rise up,
mm,
because this is the stuff that, like, when you drop your ego, and there's a lot of ego in the self-actualization world. And even the idea of trying to, change gears and I'm going to be a Buddhist monk or whatever it is, like that hierarchy still exists,
Yeah.
where even the environment that you're in is designed to sort of make you feel like you um, are doing something wrong. And
Mm-hmm.
that is where I think we're like missing the boat. So let me just bring all this back to like program 4 or whatever, which is the fact that like, the more I was in touch with my own healing, the more I was in touch with my own bullshit and my own ego and my own issues, etc., the more authentic I could be in the work I was doing, and the funnier I
Yeah.
could be about it because I could see
Yeah.
it really clearly. And so that became like
And you
this.
weren't threatened by it. You were like, oh, I
No.
can see that. So, oh, haha. And then you can laugh about it rather than trying to furiously keep those ping pong balls underwater.
Well, yeah, because you have to sort of like raise the beast to slay the beast or whatever. Like, and if you're just kind of like I said, sinking in, I didn't really do
Hmm.
any major healing in my life until I was well into my 40s.
Nice.
40s,
That's so
okay.
hopeful.
But like
I
before that,
agree.
I was
Same
like,
with myself.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
Oh
have
my
this
God.
idea, just like our parents did, that like life is linear and like A plus
Yeah.
B equals C or whatever. And like, I'm going to do this so that this happens. And then you start to realize that life isn't linear. It's a series of
Uh-uh.
ebb and flow and give and take and,
It's a spiral.
failure and success. And failure
Yeah.
is the best thing that can ever happen to anybody. And we
Yeah.
also, that's another part of it, is like, until you have failed multiple times in life, even just embarrassing yourself or whatever, like you're not going to learn the value of, doing work for the sake of it versus like having some agenda and trying to get on top. And I think that the algorithm rewards the other thing. And that's unfortunate because it's really warping the way that we should be evolving, in my view. But, what do I know? But the whole reason I'm doing this is like, well, I don't want to do that anymore. That's what it basically boils down to. It's like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. It's fucking ugly. It's stupid. I got to hit, like, there's like a million pop-ups every time I try to like read an article. Like, I'm over it.
Oh
And
God.
it's one of those things where like, how like a lot of people don't really heal until they hit a rock bottom. Well, guess
Yeah.
what? The internet is hitting rock bottom. And this is where we actually have an opportunity to like get off of this. And because if they would have just let it be what it was, we might have just stuck with it. Like this would have been normalized forever, till the end of time. Like we would have just stayed
Oh yeah.
tweeting and doing all, whatever. And it was super fun while it lasted, right? But like,
Yeah.
because now there's a lack of, they've pushed it too far, everything's really gross, and then, we've got AI everywhere and it's scraping your information and nothing is trustworthy. What's left is that all you can trust at this point is another person, a human being, and something you can see with your own two eyes in a room. And by the way, not for nothing, but when I started booking these shows, I was extremely mindful of what would keep me from going to something. And I have made it my business to basically like fix any kind of weird problem that we like. There should be parking. It should start early. It should be comfortable. There should be, plenty of like food and beverage around and, this type of thing.
Yeah.
And the environment should be really chill and relaxed. And like, what would I like to do? What kind of environment would I like to be in? And so I get to do that with this project, and that has been extremely fun and great and gratifying. And people really like it because I'm not the only, you know, old person who wants quiet or mellow. Like I don't want like auto-tune music blaring
Oh
in a
God.
bar while I'm waiting
Yeah.
for
This
like a
is all
band
I
to
want.
play. Yeah. So there you
Yes.
go.
I know. I love the venue you picked in Portland, and then the one triple door is going to be here in Seattle. It's
These have
masterful every step that you've been
these have
doing.
all been independent outlets as well. All the venues are independently owned and
Oh,
operated,
so
and
good.
that's a really great thing because we're all sort of like elevating each other. Like, hey, here's this independent lady doing an independent thing. that she made it completely independently. And this
Yeah.
is the kind of programming we want to do. And you know what? No one has really known what it was. And I mean, bless them. They have all been really pleasantly surprised by like the reaction and the turnout. And every
Mm.
single venue has been amazing, and so supportive in helping me to create this world. It's the kind of fun thing that they're like really into doing. So I,
I'm so glad
well,
that
yeah.
you're being met with the support. I want you to get funded, like
Hmm.
on a major level, like
Yeah, me
PBS
too.
level, because this is a type, it's like PBS, like what you're doing is like
Yeah.
a public service that I think crosses all sort, brings everyone together. It's like very unifying. And the people that we talked to after your Portland show, like I want to be with them all the time. I'm like, why didn't I get their information? I want to, yeah, it
Oh, I
was just
know.
so
And
lovely.
it brings a lot of people together. It brings a lot of like artists and musician friends that I've known for a million years and who have all known each other for a million years. And so every one of these shows has like an amazing singer songwriter, an incredible author or radio host. And a lot of them are like local to the place that I'm in. So at the Regent Theater in Arlington, Mass, it was, the great Josh Cantor on,
Mm,
the keyboards. And then Juliana Hatfield was the um, sort of, well, she wasn't the compere. She was the guest host of the Jib Calhoun show, which is like a 70s style talk show after the screening where we do sort of a Q&A, but we have a cute, like, umbrella for it. And people don't know what it is, but they're like, well, Juliana Hatfield's there and I like her, so how bad could it be?
yeah,
And there's a lot
totally.
of people like that. But like in Portland, you were the Jib Calhoun show host. And then we had like, the Jenny Conley, who's amazing. And then Scott McCoy did a number with her and it was really fun. And Mike Mills has come up and done a number in Athens with Jay Gonzalez. Like everything's very like local feeling to
Yeah.
the venue where I am. And the ones that I'm booking, hopefully, into the future, will continue that because it's super fun. And I just did one in Chicagoland that was a much bigger show, a pre-show that seems like a sales presentation by the Browner Company. And it was so many friends. I mean, it was that backstage was like maybe one of the best times I've had in a long time.
Uh,
A lot of really
yeah,
great
it
people
had
involved.
like a summer camp feeling is what it felt like
Well, here we
where
are.
you and here we are. It's
Look
like
what we've done.
exactly, and you're
Yeah,
creating this and you're
yeah,
on your own dime. You're just like going city to city, and
yeah.
it's just
And
really
bringing
beautiful because you
My Jewish summer camp fun
can
to
we
all of
please
the, yeah,
wet hot American summer, this whole entire trauma thing that we've been saddled with that our boomer parents didn't process, so now it's on us. So let's,
yes,
bless their hearts. They didn't have the tools, but we do. And like you're saying, community is what's
yeah,
healing. Like this is the connection.
yeah.
Like when I was really dealing with anxiety, like having panic attacks that sent me to the ER, it's been years, thank God. But I had a therapist say, well, you know that what is underneath your anxiety is lack of connection. So
Right.
if you can isolate where you feel disconnected and alone, then you can figure out how to get people around you and the right people around you. Very important
I
factor.
agree. No, I think that that's really key to all of it. And also, it's a Gen X approach to sort of like our friends are our family in a lot of
Yeah.
ways, because we all leaned on each other and we were all like super hyper independent, et cetera. And so I feel like all those kind of fun chickens are coming home to roost now where I'm 52 and I've lived in most major American cities and I know a lot of people from a lot of different corners and everyone is like really excited to participate. I'm so fortunate for that. And it's a lot of goodwill, which creates a lot of good vibes. And people really can sense that too, where it's like, I'm walking into a situation where everything is cool. And the thing I want to illustrate about the community aspect is that program 4 is extremely, first of all, it's extremely accessible to everyone. Everyone has a memory that this brings up for them. One
Hmm.
guy literally said to me, I love Easy AM 66. It reminds me of being in the back of my grandma's
Mm,
car. And I said, that's literally what was going through my head when I was writing
hmm.
that show. Being in the back of my grandfather's Lincoln Continental and watching palm trees go by as he picked me up at the
Palm
airport on the
trees.
Jewish
Oh,
side of Florida. But anyway, people are locking onto it, right? So it's like there's
huh.
this like audience of people who are from all different walks of life and all different age groups. And even though there's a lot of inside baseball in program 4, I mean, there's a lot of inside baseball, but having said that, it's extremely welcoming and accessible. So
Well,
there's
even
like, yeah.
if there's references people miss that would go over other, I don't think it would be a problem because they just feel like they're watching something that you came up with. Whatever the inside baseball part of it is no deal breaker at all. Like anyone can
Well, it's
roll with
like
that, I
watching
think.
TV. When I was growing up, I watched a lot of television that I did not understand. There were jokes
Yeah,
happening all the
totally.
time on the Tonight Show or otherwise, like where I didn't get it, or Rocky and Bullwinkle or something. There was like an inside joke that was really for adults. And so having like a couple of different levels happening at the same time is super fun. And the people who do get it when it lands, they really get it. And then if somebody doesn't, it just kind of, you're on to the next thing so fast that it's like, but
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like there's no like, like sniff, like, oh, I guess you're just not like one of the cultural elite like the rest
There's
of us over here.
zero
you know,
pretense.
none.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
feel like it's very anti pretensions, which is so
I
refreshing
agree.
because I feel like I'm so sensitive to any whiff of pretense. It's like, nope, fuck off. We're not
Well,
doing that.
if I may say something really fast, it's because not for nothing, but like as a woman who was raised in a world where it would be unthinkable for me to assume that that I belong in some room. Like I have to work extra hard
Hmm.
and be perfect to even be considered an equal. That's just the way it is. That's the way of the world. That's it. I'm aware of that. I
Yeah.
transform that into comedy. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like 70s looking, uh, there's a lot of 70s looking humor about
The
feminism where
bank
it's
ad
like,
is my favorite.
which one?
The bank.
Oh, Annex Bank. Yeah. Like, you know, giving this woman a credit card and how are we going to control her spending? And then you sort of say like, well, that literally has not changed at all. Like that's still the
No,
case.
it's like, oh
But
shit, that's funny to us, but this is real. Yeah.
yes,
It's so
so
good.
I
Subversive is how you do it. Yeah.
yes, but it also points to the accessibility to everyone because I know how I feel when I'm left out of conversations that every record dude and every band dude is having. Like, I mean, I'm just not even considered. Like, some guy
Hmm.
asked me recently, like, just like he asked me if I knew of a band, and I was like, and it was, I'm not even going to say what because I don't want to like call him
I'm
out or
dying
whatever,
to
but
know, but okay.
well, I'll tell you off the air.
Okay.
But it was one of those things like, yeah, like, uh huh.
You're like, oh
So
no.
because I grew up not assuming that like I didn't have that privilege. I had to do things differently, you know?
Yeah.
So because I don't assume that, like my work reflects that inclusivity because I don't like the way that feels at
No.
all. Like
Yeah,
I don't love
that's
that, you know.
well, there's so much hypersensitive sensitivity for people who may have been in a more privileged group learning about their privilege. They are like, this is new for them. And I think that you said it so well. We were talking a few weeks ago. You said, well, if you go into you're in France and you're American and you you know, try to get the people to speak English back at you, you're not even making an effort to meet them where they are. Whereas if you are attempting and are congenial, they will give you so much more back.
Oh
And
yeah.
I thought that was really beautiful and sounds kind of like what you're saying right now. being
Well,
left out of conversations, but having that perspective. I just love the way you put that.
Well, it also goes back to what we were saying before about like, we all may have our individual beefs and traumas, but ultimately, when you can translate that into a feeling that you want to acknowledge and therefore work against, you know, that's how you spin. That's how you spin straw into gold. It's about like,
Mm,
how did that make me feel, and
hmm
how do I want to change that? How do I want to be a force of change where people can actually acknowledge and see like how these behaviors actually do manifest and how people do feel. And sometimes they don't realize they're doing it. But you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that, and all of my male friends are amazing, and they're all trying to speak French in the French restaurant, and even
exactly.
if they're not quite understanding it, they want to understand it, and I'm always very happy to sort of have that conversation, um, because they're acknowledging that, like, yeah, something's off here. Like, what is it? Can you explain it to me,
Mm-hmm.
from your perspective? And they want to listen. But there's a lot of people out there who are hurting, who have a victim mentality, who want to blame people around them and or not want to change their behaviors because their whole idea of life is like, how do I get mine,
Yeah.
or how do
Yeah.
I, steamroll over. They're not very sentient, is what I'm trying to say. But
hmm
this world is not designed to allow um, that kind of time. And sometimes it may never happen for certain people. But
Yeah.
we also should start to we should be building more environments where this type of culture is possible. And it
Mm.
has a different sort of metric than the algorithm has, and is measured by that metric and is invested in by that metric. My whole show, the Browner presentation, has a has that's the idea behind it. There's a song in it called Cost Benefit Analysis, and it's more of like a beat poet or whatever, like a poem, and it's like a jazzy thing, and it goes back and forth. But it's all about how like we don't want to um, measure the value of program 4 by cost benefit analysis.
Yeah.
We want laughs and art and fun, where fellowship is number one, is like one of the lines.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
we want somebody to like, you know,
Not
you know,
monetize it, not like parse it to death and try to turn it into a
yes,
commodity.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, or content, or the
And that's
worst
what
word
you're
of all.
sending up. Yeah. Content.
Yeah.
Um, so have I discussed couples therapy with you? The show Couples Therapy on Paramount? I can't
No, but
remember. I can't keep track of who I've talked about it with because it is my favorite show in the world. Dr. Orna, she's Israeli. So, and her philosophy comes through in how beautifully she creates space for people who have no come in there with no way of being able to hear each other. And she's like, you are not operating as a team. Can you imagine what this person is saying? And can you say it back to them? And she, it's very unifying. And when you were speaking about how we need to create more spaces where this is possible, I thought of that. I'm like, that is giving people actual concrete tools in order to be like, oh, the world's bigger than just my perspective. What else can my life becomes richer when I think about other people's experience and they think about mine. So that's
it's
what this
true.
is
I
it.
mean,
I'm trying to
and
give you a
without,
compliment is what I'm trying to do. It's like
thank
this is what
you.
this reminds me
Well,
of.
that's important. And I mean, well, here's the thing too. Like, no matter what, like there have been a number of, you know, there's so much art and culture and music and film and television out there that has been able to Trojan horse certain kinds of ways of thinking and different ideas, and some of those are really well executed and land on an emotional level. Like 6 Feet Under is something I could name. Like what, like that
mm,
show was
hmm
so deep. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
does feel very authentic, and there I could name a million more. Um, so the more I think in this world of AI and internet metrics and algorithms, like the best way that we can differentiate who we are as humans is to be human and to sort of continue to whatever that means in this moment, if it means being present in a theater with other humans in a way that feels super fun, and then I can sort of like Trojan horse a bunch of like, you know, fun and
Yeah.
in that packaging, sort of be able to like have an environment that is surprising and people feel very deeply, because if I sold it like that, no one would want to come. It would be too heavy. And so
Yeah.
I really let people sort of enjoy a bunch of jokes before things kind of take a turn.
Yeah. No,
and then
it's so
it changes
important
up.
to wrap the medicine in the dog treat is what's
Yes,
going
I'm
on,
wrapping the
basically.
medicine in the dog treat. It's exactly what it is. It's like peanut
Well, it's
butter and
very
then medicine.
totally. No, it's very Mel
Ah,
Brooks, like Blazing
yeah,
Saddles was this cultural commentary, but no one would
yeah.
come out saying that at the time. Yeah.
No, and of course he had the ability and the skills and the know-how to like make that land through laughter.
Hmm.
And so that's what we do. We just keep on keeping it on and do the best we can. And in this case, I'm having a lot of fun doing it this way. Like more
Well, this
fun.
is your calling. This is
I
what you were
hope
built
so.
to do.
I don't
Is
know.
my perspective. You were either meant to do this or be a rabbi. And I don't know
I
how
know,
long
and
it takes to be a
I don't have
rabbi.
like 20 years of
I think it takes a
schooling
while.
ahead of
Yeah.
me. Yeah, I know it takes like a really long time. No, this is what I've got. This is what I came. This is how I he- healed myself through the pandemic, and now I have this thing that I'm trying to continue to build out and make it even more expansive and fun, with a lot of like bells and whistles and analog treats and stuff like that, where it feels very exclusive and unique. Um, so I'm just going to continue doing that. And for my own enjoyment, I am also trying to be uh, present everywhere that I am with the
Mm,
people who I love, old friends and new friends and people I've only known from the internet or collaborated with from a distance. And then all of us getting together, it's been incredibly enjoyable, you know.
hmm.
So so that's what I'm going to keep doing. And everyone's on the same wavelength. I've always thought of
Yeah.
Program 4 as being like, you know, a TV station broadcasting to a certain vibration, you know.
Yes.
So it's local programming for a vibration. Like that's where we're at instead of actually a town. Um,
Yeah.
and so hopefully it reaches people in that way. I don't know, but it's really a lot of fun. So you should all come down to the Triple Door on June 18th, 7:30 doors, with Sean Wolcott and his Starlight Ensemble playing an incredible set. That guy's an incredible
Yeah. No,
composer,
he's a
arranger.
legend around
Oh my
here for
God, he's
sure.
so great.
So
No,
I
he's
love that you got
incredible.
him.
Oh
I
yeah.
love
And
it.
so we have a piece in Program 4 that we collaborated on that is an industrial film for solar energy, which is beautiful and one of my favorite things I've ever done. So I'm super excited. We've never met in person, and he's going to do a set like before the show. And my old friend Scott Jampino, um, who is at the Triple Door, will also be a person I'm excited to see. And then, of course, you and David and everyone else in Seattle that I haven't seen in a million years. It's going to be
Oh my
super, super
God.
fun. So come down and be a part of it. Yay.
Oh, I cannot wait to see you. This
Me
is the
too.
greatest. I'm just so glad you're out there. I'm so glad we connected however long ago we did. And I just am always learning things from you and I love you to bits.
I love you too, honey. Thank you so much for having me
Mhm.
on. I hope it was
Thanks.
I hope it was on brand enough.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh my
good.
God.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I feel like we could talk about this forever.
I agree.
If anyone comes down, yeah, if anyone shows up because they heard this, please say hi. I would just, because like, like Rachel is saying, she creates a frequency that, brings people who are in tune in a certain way. And that was the highlight of my year was seeing Program 4 in Portland last month. So
Oh,
can't wait for
thank
your
you.
Seattle show.
I'm glad you get to see it again. And yes, please
Yay,
say
me too.
hi. Come, whomever's listening right now, please come say hello. I would very much like to meet you, and I would love to see you. So thank you.
I love you, Rachel. You're the breast.
Love you too.